Hey guys, how's it going? It's Janie over here at JaniesSweets, and in this episode I'm coming at you with a whale-themed baby shower cake. I love how this cake turned out. Even though it's pretty big, it's very simple to make, so if you want to learn how I did this, keep on watching. So I'm starting out with a 6-inch cake. I'm just going to cover it with some blue fondant. Once I'm happy with how smooth I've made it with my hands, I'm going to grab my fondant smoothers and try to create some sharp edges. I've done the same thing to an 8-inch cake as well, and what I'm doing here is I'm using a quilting tool. I got this from a Wilton box. I will link it for you guys below if you're interested in getting that exact tool. So it's just a stitching tool. I'm going to do a quilting pattern all over, and then I'm going to use another tool out of the box just to poke some holes in each intersection because I want my dragées or sprinkles to stick to it. Once I am done with that, I just rolled out a thin layer of white fondant, and then I'm just going to make a zigzaggy swervy pattern with my fondant cutter or my pizza cutter. And then I'm just going to put some water, or you can also use gum glue, all over your bottom tier. Now you see how it kind of ripped on the side. I'm not really worried about it because this is where I'm going to cover it. So don't worry about all those imperfections. I'm going to cover that in a second. So make sure to only stick the bottom of your strip of white fondant. That's just going to create the waves. Now I'm just going to pull out the very top just so it sticks out of the cake. And then I did the same thing with a light blue color, and that's the exact same color of the fondant I used to cover the entire cake. And then the very last strip is going to be a darker navy blue color. And then doing the same thing, I'm only gluing the very bottom part of the waves, and I'm just going to leave the top part to pull out. Once I was done with that, I'm going to use fat bubble tea straws like I always do to dowel the bottom tier. And then I'm going to place my middle tier right here. Doing the same thing one more time, I'm going to dowel my middle tier. And then place my very top tier right here. Now I used a really long wooden skewer just to go through the entirety of the cake, just so that it doesn't move on me when I'm going to transport it to the venue. Now as you can tell, I'm pushing this cake and it is not going anywhere. Now the second part of the decoration, I'm going to roll out some white fondant very, very thinly, and for that I'm going to use my pasta machine. And this fondant, I guess you would call it like a fondant mat, like a pattern maker. I will link it for you guys below. I found this particular one on Amazon, but I know they sell them everywhere now. And this just mimics like bubbles that come up in the ocean. And I really like that pattern, so I'm just gonna stick it onto my very top tier. So because I have put my gum glue on it, it's going to stick to the cake when I remove the mat. You just have to be very, very careful not to rip it off too soon because it can move. Now some of the bubbles came off, but I just fixed it manually, and I just continued that pattern all over. Now using the darker blue, the navy blue, I'm just going to use a fondant mold, and this is a rope mold. I actually don't remember where I got this, so I can't really link it, but if I find something similar, I will put it down below for you guys. And this is what I'm going to use to cover the bottom of my 3 tiers, or my second tier. So just continue putting some gum glue and then adding your fondant, and it sticks just like that. Now I just wanted to put on 2 pieces that are just coming off of it, just so it looks like it's been tied into a knot. There you go. Now I have here my iPad. I'm going to trace a whale on it. That's how I trace every single thing that I have. I just pick up a piece of parchment paper and then I use my iPad to trace it. It's just very tricky if it's an image that you've enlarged, because it's just gonna keep moving. But anyway, I did the best that I could, and then I'm going to glue my piece of parchment paper onto my my fondant. I did the same exact thing with the Beatles cake. If you saw that, I will link it for you guys below if you haven't. So that's the easiest way that I find that you can make patterns. So I did one in a darker blue color and then one in a lighter blue. Then I'm going to stick on some skewers just so that it can stick onto the cake. Now I made the mistake of making this with fondant and CMC powder. If I had to do this one more time, I would definitely use gum paste, but all that it means is that this is going to take a very, very long time to dry. Up until I was going to deliver it, it actually didn't want to dry properly, but I got it to dry right on time. So yeah, anyway, I'm just going to add a nameplate and a rope of pearls. They're pearls, right? All over the bottom. And once my fondant figures have dried, I'm just going to add them right on here. And don't worry about all the cornstarch that you see. I am going to go over it like I always do with a airbrush machine with just some water, just to make it shine a little better. And then once I was done, this was my final result. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss out on any of my future videos. If you click on this annotation to your left, you can check out my last video. As always, I am on Instagram as well as on Facebook. All of my socials are at JaniesSweets. That is all for this week's tutorial, guys. I love you. Talk to you next time.